Now, India's AI Impact Summit has got an outstanding response from across the world, with nation heads starting from French President Macron to global tech leaders like Sam Altman, Sundar Pichai, and News9 managing editor Karthikeya Sharma spoke to Shashi Shekhar Vempati, one of India's foremost technocrats shaping the country's AI and deep tech landscape. Vempati is the co-founder of the Deeptech for Bharat Foundation, which runs AI4India.org, a key initiative focused on advancing India's sovereign AI ecosystem and nurturing indigenous deep technology innovation. Listen in.
So let's decode what the Prime Minister said. Tech manavta ki seva kare.
Right. So if you look at, I think this has been a consistent theme. In fact, I recall last year when we were around this time, we were in Paris for the AI summit in Paris. And, there was this very, deep divide. At one end of the spectrum, you had the United States, which was, advocating, complete freedom so that the, US-based AI technologies, can dominate the landscape. At the other end of the spectrum, you had Europe, which was extremely focused on, safety and ethics. And Prime Minister Modi then stood out. His address in Paris stood out for, charting that middle path, saying we need to balance the concerns with innovation. And that is when he, coined this thing about AI is, rewriting humanity's code. And we need to, think of AI as a human-centric technology. I think it is evolution of that thought process, which is what you heard today in his remarks with the French president just now. And if you look at his most recent interview, which just came, about an hour back, again, he's talked extensively on this theme on human centricity.
Mr. Vempati, you have been talking about democratizing AI, but I also have an added question here. Sir, AI, why is AI so unregulated? In America, it's unregulated. There is no scrutiny in China, and these are the two countries dominating the tech curve in AI.
Yeah, I think, when you have a technology which is so fast evolving, where, the pace of innovation is unlike anything that we have seen, it is natural that regulations will take time to catch up. And the technology and the adoption or consumption of the technology will be way ahead of the capacity of regulators to regulate or to moderate or mediate how this technology is used or adopted. So I think that is a pattern that we've seen in the case of AI because of the exponential nature in which innovation is happening. That gulf between regulatory capacity and where the technology stands is quite wide. However, we have seen in the Indian context, we have seen the risks to our democracy, especially during elections with deep fakes and, the kind of havoc, fake content can cause. So I think in that sense, we have taken certain steps from a regulatory standpoint, but still early days. I think one of the key challenges is going to be how we build regulatory capacity with, tools that will allow the regulators to keep up with the pace of technology.
Mr. Vempati, you have been talking about that the national AI capability must be rooted in Indian data and languages. How will that be possible?
So we have seen, for example, over the last 2 years or 3 years since when the the entire ChatGPT phenomenon emerged, that the Western models, which were largely trained on data sets publicly available on the internet, tended to misrepresent Indian context, misrepresent facts about India. And given that India has such a wide diversity of languages, it's not just the 22 official languages, right? For example, All India Radio creates content in nearly 100 languages and dialects. So that is the kind of diversity. And many of these languages and dialects don't have a digital footprint on the public internet. So it becomes very important that we build a repository of public data sets, which our model developers can leverage. That was the context of one of our initiatives at AI4India, which is called Data Dan, where we encouraged various organizations to voluntarily make their data sets available. The government since then has launched, as part of the India AI mission, the AI Kosh repository. And I think it's a vast repository. I think there's probably close to 1,000 public data sets available there. I think that is how we ensure that our model developers, our startups, have access to the Indian context and Indian data.
So there are two things, making best of what AI has to offer And the second is to be ahead in the AI curve as coders, as people who are part of the tech world. How would you evaluate India's progress there?
See, India, if you, we are blessed to have, one of the largest English-speaking, digitally savvy population. We are the talent pool or the talent hub for the rest of the world. It is not just that people of Indian origin are building technology in Silicon Valley and other places. If you look at some of the work that's happening here itself, like a lot of the Google DeepMind, work, those teams are based in Bangalore. Minister Vaishnav was in Bangalore recently, where he launched a 2-nanometer chip. Again, all of those engineers are not just Indian origin engineers. They are engineers who are resident in India. So as far as the ability to build technology, I think that talent exists in India. What we now need to see is startups, our innovators challenge these global models. And I think that is where the steps that have been taken, be it the India AI mission, providing compute at a subsidized or a low cost, supporting these startups. And now with the launch of the Research and Development Innovation Fund, I think the government has taken several steps to walk the talk on supporting the startups. Now the time has come for corporate India to match that. Because unless corporate India, invests in R&D, invests in patient capital, long-term research, we will not,
But that's abysmal, sir. You would agree. Our investment in R&D, research, is no match when it comes to both China and America, sir.
Absolutely, and I think we need to change that. And I think that is where the Research and Development Innovation Fund, the 1 lakh crore fund, comes in. So the government has made its move. Now it is for corporate India to, match and step up to the challenge.